Good evening. 8th of March is celebrated as the International Women's Day all over the world. In Tribe, we celebrate this day by inviting women leaders from various walks of life who comes and shares their achievements and success stories with the cafe and the wider audience, the wider tribe. This year, keeping in tradition, we have done the same thing. We are organizing a panel discussion where we've invited eminent speakers from various walks of life who are going to come and share their experiences and success stories with the tribe. The topic of the discussion is women's equality, not only a gender issue, also an economic issue. So please stay tuned and listen to the discussion and enjoy it. Thank you.
Today, 12th of March, uh, we are here on the occasion of celebrating Women's Day, which was a couple of days back. And this is the second episode of Tribe Celebrating Women's Day. Today's topic is we've all been talking about women's equality for a long time. Now, the topic today is it only a gender issue or is it an economic issue? So, the panelists today are uh, Ritushmita Bishwas. She's a media entrepreneur and she has a writing boutique called Wordsmith Writing Services and a digital communication agency called Digital Brands. She's a social media expert, literature masters from Jadavpur University and a journalism master from Asian College of Journalism. She'd got many awards based on her work, and one of them being she was awarded by the United States Senate for promoting women empowerment in India. Uh, our other panelist is Shonali Bhattacharya. She's been working in the IT sector for the past 20 years. She's right now a senior director in Cognizant. She's also a Jadavpur University engineer and then did her post graduation in data science and business analytics after that. Uh, Apart from being an IT professional, the other part, she is very passionate about writing, and she has released two books by this time, and one of them coincidentally was released in Tribe itself. The moderator for today is Shilpa Chakravarti. She is co-owner for Tribe. Uh, she's master's in business finance and MBA in HR. She's had 23 years of experience, and she was worked with Ernst& Young. She was head of HR for Tractors India Limited, and now she's the director for Grey Matters Consulting, apart from running Tribe, which is her passion. So I would hand over now the baton to Shilpa. She will take the lead forward in terms of asking these ladies about what they think about the economic issue and the gender issue. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, SRC, for the introduction. This is a very pertinent topic today, and ever since we've been talking about the gender equality, inclusiveness, diversities, and everything. But let's look at some of the data as we are, talking about the gender equality and the economic issue, and why are we discussing this today? Is because that people say that as per reports. As on 2004, the women workforce was about 35% of the total workforce in India. Standing today, the study says that we have come down to 29%. So there has been a sharp fall of women workforce. I'm not including the agricultural workforce, which is anyway women contribution is more there. Now, what does it mean from a GDP perspective? Across the world, the contribution of women in the GDP is about 35%. Whereas in India, we are at the level of only 17% contribution to the GDP by the women workforce. So that is which is bringing us to this topic of economic growth along with growth of women and inclusiveness of women in the whole economy per se. Another thing which is there is that what does this 17% and 35% mean? So, by 2030, we are talking about a $5 trillion dollar economy and everything. And where does the women contribution feature over there? It actually features about 700 USD billion if we raise ourselves from a 17% GDP contribution to even 25%, which is also 10% less than the world contribution, the whole economy would rise by 700 billion USD. So we are just talking about very big numbers over here. And as I am here with both of you, and you are very senior leaders in your respective industry. So I'll first start my conversation with Ritushmita, and so you have been into this world of working in the media been for a very long time. You've been working and you've been running a very successful enterprise for the last last 10 years, right? So my question would be to you is that in the media sector, how is this inclusiveness of women coming, and how it is impacting, according to you, the economic growth of individuals as well as the industry per se? Your take on this from a media perspective.
Hi. Okay, so thanks, Shilpa. I think this is a very interesting question because I am from one of those ancient media fraternities. Like, I've been in media for the last 21 years. So when basically I joined in media, media was on the transforming bit, as in women were slowly coming in. You know, the generation before us, there were, say, in a proper newsroom of 30, there were maximum 3 women. When I was coming in, media was slowly coming in. I mean, people were just joining media then. And a lot of people were joining media because they felt it was very fashionable. So, it was very fashionable to study English literature in a presidency at Jadavpur University and then go and join media. You have that glamour, and then if you could get married to an engineer, I mean, good, yeah, then you could relocate overseas. So, media was more of a fashion statement like that. But then, of course, we had people. Okay, so the challenge about media, I'll take a personal story here. So I had an arranged marriage at that point of time. Like, my mom wanted me to have an arranged marriage. So I had a groom, one of those Bengali guys coming and seeing me. And the first thing they said, tumi ki karo? I mean, in Bengali, tumi ki karo? At that point, I was not a reporter. I was a sub-editor in a night shift. So I say, I edit the paper. And when I come home, it's late at night, around 2 o'clock at night. So they said, no, we can't be getting married. So the only thing, and everyone in my family loved the guy, whatever reason it was, they really wanted that what job I was doing at a 5,000 salary in Asian Age. It didn't make any sense to my family. And, they said, such a bhalo katha bolche to. Leave this and get married. Like that. So basically, it was a very difficult choice to choose media. And I have media friends from that time, who chose media over marriage because they wanted to work. It was very tough for a media girl because, media was not a fashion journalism. We had no bloggers at that time. I'm speaking of 2000. So it was not a easy time. We were staff reporters. We used to go to PG Hospital and find out stories and work like that. So that was the other side of media. So there were women like us who were in the media and who chose to continue in the media and continue being a part of workforce. But needless to say, at least 80% dropped out because marriage and media just didn't blend. A journalist might seem glamorous, but, a journalist was not the right person to maintain this. But then I think IT came and changed the whole thing. Then people realized that people really can work till 12 o'clock in the night and it was still okay. So now basically what I see in media, people are much more tolerant. And a lot of people are, they're still in media. We have a lot of bloggers. So, now I would say it's at least 70% of the people in media are basically women there. So, yeah, from, my perspective, I think people have dropped out of media. It's a very harsh reality. People have shifted jobs. I had a friend who was a television journalist who joined Cognizant because it was a more secure job after this. So media is a difficult thing. People drop out of media all the time. People drop out of workforce, mostly women. It's tough being a woman and working in media. I agree.
Okay, so that takes me to you, Shonali, but my question is a little different for you. Because IT is a place where we saw a lot of inclusion, and they have been actively working on diversity and inclusiveness. And not only women as a inclusiveness parameters, various other parameters of inclusivity. But one thing I just wanted to ask you is that, the data shows across the world, more so in India, that the proportion of women in IT sector across grades or across levels are pretty astonishing. In the entry years, we see about 20-25% women. In the middle sector, in the middle level, we see about 12%, and in the senior level, it's only about 7 to 8%. Though we have some very fancy names as both in Wipro, in Google, in Microsoft, and also Facebook and other places who are women, but the reality is about they're still at that 7 to 8%. So from a 25% or a 22% to a drop of 7 to 8% is a very sharp fall. And you being a senior leader, my inner IT, and representing this 8%, I would like to have your take on this.
Thanks, Shilpa. Before I get to your question, let me kind of share that the first 2 years of my career journey was with an engineering consulting organization. Okay, and I had an opportunity to actually visit some of the plants. So at that point of time, in fact, I recall CESC was coming up with their towers. Okay, you can understand or imagine that same time frame that she was speaking of. Okay, so I was in an office in Park Street, and I had my classmates and friends also joining me the same organization. But I did feel that when it came to going to field, okay, there was a preference. Okay, and possibly they thought that the preference is not only for my benefit, would be also my choice. Okay, so that was a decision made by somebody on behalf of me. But of course, this is something that I've realized over the last 25, 26 years that I'm in industry, that there's always somebody in the room, okay, and it may be possibly a man, who has a different eye for, to sense this kind of feelings, okay. So I did get an opportunity to visit such kind of plants, okay. The story doesn't end there, okay. So I was there for a due diligence along with 5 men of different grades. And then at some point, in the day, as the day was progressing, I said, hey, I need to go to a restroom, okay? And when I said I need to go to a restroom, okay, it was a series of events to the extent that I understood it had to go to a kind of a person who is almost all in on, and possibly by grade, a kind of a VP level person. In his locker, there is a key that needs to be taken out to open a restroom, okay? And everybody in the whole shop was kind of getting, this news that here is somebody who is a very junior person, entrepreneur, consultant who has come to visit with big shots. She just needs to go to a restroom, okay? So that was the first realization. Now I told this as a backdrop to your question because when I moved from this to IT, I made a shift, okay? I certainly felt at the beginning years that, this industry possibly looks at women very differently. Okay, that was a very big realization for me because it was at par as long as you can write a code, okay, as long as you can kind of give an output, okay, your supervisors are happy about it, you have customers who would love it, okay, and then you have a place, okay. On top of it, if you are someone who can go and speak and say what you did, you have an edge around kind of, climbing up the ladder a little bit. But coming back to the hard question that you tabled, okay, and yes, numerically or number-wise, that's the fact. There are many reasons why, we get to see in the middle of it, things start crumbling. In the beginning, you would see many people, because if you go to colleges, like, all the engineering colleges, management colleges, you'll see it's possibly 50-50, in some cases it could be even more, okay. However, as the life takes, its own course, and, people start getting into the family way, okay? And there are different choices, though, today people make. But, in many cases, when they go the family way, as she was sharing her experience, the comeback is never easy, okay? So, see, I took the first example and the second example in purpose because the first was the workplace, readiness, and the second is the support system readiness, okay? Both are very, very, important for a woman to continue the job. But, people who even make it till that point and come back and try to survive, they face a very different type of a challenge. Thing is, job profiles are also sometimes made, floated, and expected to be performed with certain biases in mind, okay? So if you really, really don't think through that what is it that you have at your disposal, if I have to consider even a woman as a skilled person, okay, how do you kind of, elevate your job profile, okay, and position it? Many a times it is written in an English that appears to be for a gender, Okay, and it's a very, very important aspect of it. If you read the English, the bulleted 5 lines, the same English deciphered by a man and a woman is different. On top of it, if it is written to be intended to be read by a man, and then when it is read by a woman, it is interpreted wrong. Okay, and by the way, generally we would be born and brought up, and there are so many things that are changing. As if I look at current families, and how they try to kind of upskill both boy and a girl in the family. I am sure that it is changing, but still there is some difference in how you groom up people. Okay, and when it comes to real work, you don't come to work just because you got a degree, right? You come to work because you've brought with you all that you have learned, in that room, in that house, on the dining table, in your, Khalar Mart, Para, university, everything comes with you in that room, right? And you tend to kind of carry on some of them, which kind of reflects in the job description, how you reflect, hey, what is the work about? And on the other side also, the woman is also, or the set of women have gone to that point, always do not have the right courage, right words to ask the right question at the right time. So they miss those connect points. Okay, to ask the second question, possibly they will think twice, and it is maybe because there are very less examples to go for. Okay, and possibly groomed with the fact that you have to consider 500 things before you ask a question. You would be judged by 5 things. Okay, so be very conscious, and the consistent or I would say a persistent thought that runs behind many women professional is they're competing against men. Okay, which is a very heavyweight competition, which is not required. You have to get rid of it. Okay, you're not competing against anybody, you're just competing against yourself. You are the best of yours, so you just kind of keep improvising. But of course, environment, ambience, and both at home and at office, the inclusivity that is there in the culture, okay, has to change if we really have to make a mark of the number that you are speaking of. So that's to start with.
Very pertinently said, Shonali. I mean, as a consultant also, I have been working as a consultant from '98, and still there as a consultant working. Apart from being in internal HR for a while, I go back to your restroom example. I think till now, whenever I'm using the restroom, everybody in the organization knows because the key is kept somewhere else. Okay, apart from absolutely the modern sector, because it's still like that. And whenever I've gone for work, though HR as a function has more women. But as a consultant, when you're going with the industry people, so it's still not the same. So I completely relate to your point very much even today. So another thing which is there is all that with which I'll come to, Ritu, is that that we often say that HR is or women issue or women inclusivity is there on the table at the board. Okay, but it has to be at the table as well. Okay, there are certain corporate governance mechanism which makes sure that you have a certain percentage of your board member who are women, which has become mandatory for all listed companies now. But how much is it really when HR is at the table? And along with being on the table, or people issues are there, or the HR women related issues are on the table and at the table. So as an entrepreneur, for the last 10 years that you are there, my question to you is that how much has it changed in your domain of work that you have seen as a consultant and also as an entrepreneur yourself, that thing being on the table to at the table journey?
So basically, I would have liked to say that things have changed a lot, but I would have liked to say that, but I can't say that because, I feel things are pretty much the same. And, unless the social backdrop changes, it's a very, very difficult thing to change. So I'll go back to my journalism days. So I was covering a village basically where the sarpanch was a lady sarpanch. So I was a young rookie journalist, very excited. There is a lady sarpanch and all. The editor has sold the story well to me. So when I basically went there, any question I asked her, she said with this much ghungat that I don't know, mera pati bol dega. So there was always a man behind. There was always a man behind who directed like everything. And even now, okay, now let me come back to 2020, 2021. So my agency handles a lot of women entrepreneurs. See, I'm a very biased entrepreneur. I really try hard to employ men, but somehow they don't work out in my organization. So my team of 15 is right now, I think 13 women and 2 men who are like there, one including my office boy. So I really try very hard. And this time, like, I have to take in a guy, I have to take in a guy, I have to be. So I think I'm a biased entrepreneur that way. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. There are less tea breaks, cigarette breaks. They're really sincere because at the end they also have a home to go back to, and most of them are proper married women. So by 6:30 and all, I mean, they leave for home and even I leave for home. So it works well that way for me. But let me come to a lot of my clients who are very small time entrepreneurs. So what basically happens is that when I go for the client meeting, I understand the client business. Maybe they're small jewelry makers or they're in a cafe or like whatever. So when I go, a lot of discussion, this is what I've done. Then it comes to the commercial part, and then I am asked to come for a second meeting जहाँ पे वो रहेंगे तो वो meeting होगा. Then my point is, why go for the first meeting? I mean, and then see, as an entrepreneur, as an agency, I have to understand what the source of money is and who the decision maker is. So if the woman is not the decision maker, it's pointless basically sitting. So, I mean, so basically coming to your question, as first stated, I would have liked to say that things have changed, but I don't think things have changed too much. Though, again, being the optimist I am, I feel things will change. I mean, they have to change. There is no option. So, yeah, there's still a big gap between on the table, at the table, and I have friends in HR who tell me a very lot of interesting stories about how difficult even for large corporations, I mean, to have like, to have policies which are proper gender, this kind of, this way, they're proper gender neutral. So it's a very difficult scenario at the moment, and as I feel, unless the social fabric, especially the education system changes, unless we come out of the role of being the perfect housewife, the superwoman, the perfect mother with a child scoring 92% in maths and probably getting through Jadavpur University as a science graduate like that, things are very difficult to change. We are expected to do much more than what we can do. So it doesn't work.
So this leads me to you, Shonali, in the sense that, like from the perspective that, now as a leader yourself, so when you are hiring in terms of for your team, etc., you of course are filling up a position. You're not driving a percentage, or you're not try to drive a percentage in terms of that, okay, I have to, unless there are certain, certain organizational drive which is happening. So how is that differentiation or the similarity or the judgment alignment you're doing? And one, that question. And second is that, are you as a woman leader being able to keep your biases off?
Well, see, as a leader, before even I'm a woman leader, okay, I think business takes the first, state. Okay, so when we, at least, I would say from my side, when I get to kind of, do such kind of a judgment, I'm sure I would let the person feel comfortable, have questions possibly, which is little more than the general. But I don't think gender plays any role, to be very precise, okay? Because even though organization might have some numbers in different stages, and all organizations would like to kind of socialize that, not because you want to meet a number, but because they want you to be little conscious when you are getting into that. However, I would like to say that, preparing yourself for higher role is also a journey, okay? And I guess, and in today's world, whichever industry you pick up, I would assume that she would also agree with me. You have to keep yourself updated, to the last bit, and that calls for a lot of time, right? It doesn't happen like that. So if you don't invest yourself, the first thing, then you are not getting yourself ready for what you think you should be. Now, if you are representing a particular pie, okay, which is underrepresented, and as you said, that impacts, a company, then a country, then possibly globally somewhere, some numbers. I think it is responsibility of women also to kind of, scoop out that hour to prepare oneself, okay? Because without preparation, okay, if you think that just because you're a woman and you sit there and there is some quota there or somebody will think diversity, it's like you are really not doing the right thing in the first place. Because, every role calls for some responsibility. You should be eligible to play that responsibility.